We are thrilled to be joined by golfer Greg Norman. Greg, thanks so much for taking some time.
You're welcome.
Normally it's incumbent upon me to figure out how I want to start these. What's the good entree points? I'm flipping the whole thing. I'm putting the onus on you, and it's early, so it might take a little bit of thought. It's okay. We can have a pause. Where do you think is the right place to start a sports business conversation with you? If you look back at the arc of your career, was there a line of demarcation where you were like, aha, there's a better way here? The light went on that I can do much more.
Yeah, absolutely. There was that moment. It wasn't a specific moment in time, but it was a moment of time where I observed other people using me and my brand for their benefit, and I wasn't getting any residual from it. That's a very open, broad statement, which as a journalist, you probably love that because it opens up 1,000 different questions for you. But
yeah,
so,
I would say who? Give me some examples.
Well, I'll give a prime example. Management companies treat you as a pass-through entity. Management companies are never going to build equity in your brand. Management companies use you when you're number one player in the world to leverage. Okay, let's sign up Greg Norman to do an appearance fee in a golf tournament in country X around the world. Once they get Greg Norman or the number one player in the world, they go in there on the back of him, get in player number 4, number 6, number 8, leverage that, and then they take that. Now they got 4 or 5 players. Now they go to sponsorship, they go to television, they got this and that, and who makes all the money out of that? They do. We get paid appearance money, great, no question about it. We get the prize money that we do, whether we win, lose, or finish second or third, great. But the residual is what I was talking about, the ongoing residual, putting bums on the seats, right? The spectators who want to come through that gate Thursday through to Sunday. We don't have any of that profit participation on any of that. So I sat back for a long period of time seeing this take place. And it wasn't just one time, it was multiple times. And I came to the realization, an athlete who wanted to transition from the golfing world of being number one in the world into the world of business, his greatest asset was a great law team. And not a management team, a legal team. Because quite honestly, a legal team drafts the documents on a legal perspective on the business that you've associated with it. Admittedly, their agents are important, but the most important arrow in the quiver is a great legal team. And you only do, let's give you an example, you have a endorsement deal for 3 to 5 years that most players do, 3 years with a 2-year option, right? So you negotiate a one-time deal because you negotiate that going into year 1, and then that contract carries through to the termination or the option that you have. You don't need an agent every year, but you got to pay them a fee on every year to do nothing. A legal team that I discovered at the very end of my tenure was they come in, they negotiate the legal terms of the business, and then that stays in place until the time of renegotiation starts in place. Then you bring in, whether it's the agent, and then you bring in the legal team to see if there's an adjustment to the existing contract. So that's just one example, and it's a very in-depth example of what happens. So, I'll give you another example. When you buy a car, you pay a broker a one-time fee. You don't pay that broker a fee every year that you bought the car, right?
For a depreciating asset.
For a depreciating asset. And by the way, there's a lot of athletes that are depreciating athletes too, right? Yes. Assets too. So you got to put that in perspective. So you asked me a very simple question. I gave you a very broad answer, but we're drilling down on one specific thing. And when I identified that before I made the decision not to re-sign with my management company, my whole world changed. And that's when I started identifying equity in my brand, equity in my future, equity in my company, supporting my team of people that I have around me to get to somewhere else. So I'm a team of one, but my team behind me is like hundreds of people behind me. So instead of the other way, you're a team of 1 of 15 in the stable of athletes under a management company. So, I flipped it. That's right. That was one of the biggest observations and the best decision I ever made.
One of my favorite sayings is that a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a truly wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I get the sense, and I'm guessing you do too, that athletes have learned from those who came before, because the paradigm has completely shifted in terms of what athletes are looking for. You see that as well?
Oh, absolutely. You know why? They observe what happened. In my era, when I made that decision with the management company, I got so many calls from other athletes and celebrities, I might add, asking me, Greg, what did you do? How did you do this? Blah, 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 blah. How did you establish your brand? How did you establish your logo? So this morphed out into a bigger issue on a global sport front than I ever imagined. And because I made that decision, and because that decision became successful, and even to this day, I get conversations and calls from people asking me about, how did you do it? And today, the difference is social media, right? Because the athletes and the celebrities follow the success of others. I'll give you a great example. Not even in the world of sport, is Jessica Alba. I remember playing golf with Jessica Alba, not an exhibition match, in a celebrity tournament in Hainan, China, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Sitting down talking about her aspirations of wanting to do what she has done today with the company called Honest.
The Honest Company,
right?
Yeah.
Honest Company, right? So she sat down, she asked me the questions, Greg, how did you do it? What did you do? Why? Blah, blah, blah. All this whole litany. And we sat at a dinner table for hours discussing this.
Well, take me inside that conversation, because athletes watching and people watching, give me those top things. How did you do it? What is step 1, 2, 3?
Well, I'm not going to get into how. Well, for me personally,
yeah.
Oh no, easy. For me, easy. It was like when I made the decision not to get involved. I should word it differently. When I made the decision not to re-sign with the management company in 92, 93, I decided to go out there and finance the start of my own company and support the growth of my brand through Greg Norman Collection and through Paul Fireman and the other companies that I'd been involved with, right? That was still there. And by the way, that's another subject that I'd like to get into, because it is it's unlocking value that you didn't know that was existing. It was always put to you like, oh, these companies are going to leave you if you leave this management company because you don't have the skill set to do this and this. Well, it was 100% the other way. I made more money when I left the management company because a lot of corporations came to me and said, well, we never like dealing with that. We'd prefer to deal directly with you. So from my perspective, it was a really easy, but it's a tough decision because you got to finance everything yourself. You got to go to a human resource platform to find out who's going to be your president, who's going to be your CFO, who's going to be your COO, who's going to be your middle management team, who's going to look after your comms, who's going to look after your IT, who's going to do all that. So I had to do a baptism of fire. But, I was lucky. I found some good people early on. But, the human resources rotate, right? They revolve. And you just got to make sure that the person you bring in, he or she, has the ability to see your long-term vision about how you want to build out your corporation, your brand, and build equity into the future, which is beneficial to everybody.
How many athletes today, and I don't want to get in trouble slamming too many athletes here, but I hear time and time again, I'm building a brand, I'm building my brand.
I hear that too, yeah.
All the time, right? One, they don't even understand what that means, or many don't. How many athletes today, and I'll make it easy, I know LeBron has a brand that stands for something. How many athletes have a brand? And I make it akin to when athletes have style, they want to be fashion icons. I think many athletes have stylists, not necessary style. And I think it's the same on the brand side as well. How many athletes would you say, and who are they, that have a brand that stands for something, and then you can actually go out and monetize?
Well, I'm going to answer that question in a bifurcated way, because let's just automatically pick Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan's brand is global, right? The Jumpman is phenomenal, and rightfully so it should be. But Jumpman came through Nike, right? So there's a connection between Nike and Jumpman and Michael that's never going to go away. To have an athlete go out and create his own brand that's independent and autonomous to all corporations around the world or whatever OEM is involved with. Now that's very rare, right? Where you establish that your own singular entity that the global consumer market recognizes and absorbs. So two different things. I think Michael's done a phenomenal job because he develops a tremendous royalty stream coming out of Nike. Nike gave him the distribution opportunities on a global basis, which accelerated his growth. No different than when I was with Reebok, right? I applaud Michael for it because he stayed with Nike and Nike stayed with them. When I was with Reebok, and Reebok started the Greg Norman collection through the idea of Paul Fireman, that's how the Shark logo evolved. How we exploded in our growth in the first year to over a $300 million business like that overnight was through Reebok's distribution, marketing, and PR. So Reebok then, for me, Reebok sold off, and so my licensing agreement moved on to somebody else. But that's an example of two different things. If I was with Nike and the Shark logo was the Jumpman, I'd be receiving royalty streams. I don't know what Michael's making, but because I'm inextricably linked to a Fortune 50 company, you're always going to float like this with them. So there's just two prime examples.
But there certainly is merit to piggybacking the infrastructure of a Fortune 50 company, because, like you said, the other part, it's not so easy to do it all on your own.
No, amen, 100%. God bless you if you can do it. I mean, fortunately for me, I've been lucky enough to stay with partnerships, to find partnerships like Fortune 50 companies, like Verizon, for example, right? I'm in discussions with major Fortune 50 companies on opportunities today. So it's all now they can only get to that level because of the credibility and the authenticity of your brand and the reach that it has and the adjustability and the flexibility of what that brand can do. Go from golf to somewhere else, to somewhere else, to somewhere else. So, and that's where I think, and patting myself on the back, that's where I've been very, very good at managing the direction and the partnerships that my brand gets involved with.
Is there a key to being able to expand the brand beyond the endemic golf? Obviously, it would make sense that golf companies would want to be associated with Greg Norman, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. How do you spread those wings and go far beyond the endemics?
Well, look, you identify the space you want to be in, right? Like health and wellness. I mean, I love the health and wellness space. So I know because of the way I approach life, I'm authentic. I'm a healthy guy. I tell people, know I work out. People know I'm fit. So now you can identify this health and wellness space, which is my knowledge and being believable, is a very authentic factor that is very attractive to equity funds, to people looking to invest into certain areas of a health and wellness space, which, as we should all be looking at post-COVID, my gosh, look what we went through for 18 months, right? A bunch of crap. But people are now more and more aware of their health and the space and everything around them to get them to that point. So to be healthy. So there's just one example. I've got numerous others in education, for example. So I'm a big proponent of education, but it's not education as you think today. It's education in another platform in another way. So and I invest into these companies.
Right. Now, I'm assuming that the way you invest is gaining equity. Maybe you don't have to put up so much money for the association. That's sort of where we've been going. You're seeing athletes exchanging the payday for the equity play. I mean, that's a fairly new paradigm.
Yeah, no, of course. It's called sweat equity, right? A lot of players use their brand or their positioning or their database or their social media account to get a little bit of sweat equity in whatever they're going to get involved with. There are other people that do invest, other athletes that do invest. They got a great team around them of advisors, and they have a wealth of knowledge. I'm more of a guy who stays pretty focused in the domains that I really like instead of, spreading my wings out and just throwing pixie dust in the air and say, oh, well, all this is going to work or none of it's going to work. I stay very, very focused on a few spaces that I know everybody's going after.
If you were 18 now and starting out But armed with the knowledge that you've got, how would you begin sort of the off-course building of the Greg Norman brand? Like you said, you have social media, you have partner. How would it be different? How would you attack it now?
Well, that's very, very difficult to state. First of all, you got to be successful on a global front. And you got to be able to develop a brand that's recognizable on a global front. But your success starts within a domestic market. To me, my success was a global success because no matter where I played in the world, I won. So my platform was spreading out wider and wider and wider. My exposure was getting greater and greater and greater. But let's just say specifically to the U.S., you focus on the U.S. You got to be successful, not just one win. You got to have multiple wins. You got to be consistent. You got to be deliverable. You got to, like I use the word authentic all the time. You got to be authentic on your messaging, your platform of what your beliefs are. You can't go out there and rock and roll on social media and be abusive and make comments that are divisive and stuff like that. You got to be PC correct, which sometimes is difficult for me because I have to bite my tongue. But I have to bite my tongue because I don't want to offend any of the corporations or individuals that I'm involved with, right? So you got to weigh all those responsibilities up. But the first thing you got to do is be successful in your local area, in your regional area, even in a domestic area. Then once you get that, it takes a period of time, right? It's not a 1 year wonder. It's not a 2 year wonder. Sometimes it's like 3 to 7 years. And once that, between 5 and 7 years, you start to see that, okay, things are changing, recognition's changing, brand recognition's changing, corporations are looking at me in a different way. Now you start to move your gears out a little bit. So it's very difficult to answer the question, what was I like when I was, if I knew what I know today at 23, without having done what I've done today, it'd be very, very difficult for me to say, oh, well, I can do this at 23, because quite honestly, my credibility factor hadn't been established yet.
Do you think athletes understand the need for patience? I mean, we hear so much about the shorter attention span these days, and that's not just athletes, that's a generational. It's how we consume media. Nobody's watching long games. It's about highlights. Do they understand, or they want that immediate gratification of success right now?
Immediate gratification, right?
Here it is.
Immediate gratification. It's crazy. And look, you got to make the adjustments for what the times are giving you, for what your consumers are requiring, requesting, needing, using, right? So you got to use that and understand those consumers. The golf industry, right? The golf industry fan base is the baby boomers that is starting to fail and lose these baby boomers at a higher rate than any other sport. So we got to go down now. We got to go to the millennials. We got to go to the young generation, who, by the way, have been coming back to the game of golf because of COVID, right? Yep. So the dark cloud has a silver lining in the golf world. We have all these new golfers coming in. They don't play golf. They swing a golf club. Right? Why do they swing a golf club? They swing a golf club because they go to Top Golf. They go to these facilities with their friends, having fun, listening to music, having a few cocktails on a Friday night with 4 to 6 of them in a booth. How do we get those 13.8 million new swingers of a golf club to come over to the green grass? This is the thing that the institutions, the USGA, the RNA, the golf clubs, everybody should start thinking about, because if they don't, even production, even watching professional golf tournaments, as boring as it is today, nobody's watching golf because you get lost in the sea of anonymity with individuals out there. And I don't mean to be critical of the players, but you turn it on a Friday and turn it on a Saturday, you go, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And you get bored. You turn it off because the next generation of people want to go in there and say, oh, okay, there's Scott. He's on the 15th hole. He just made a bogey or just made a birdie. Great. He's doing fine. Put it down. Let me go on to do something else. So that's the way it is today. And we've got to just think about it. If we could pull 10% of that 13.8 million swingers of the golf club who haven't been on the green grass today, we can pull 10% of those in. That's 1.8 million new golfers to the industry just like that. How do we do it? Tell me,
what would the Greg Norman broadcast look like? What would a live experience be at a Greg Norman tournament? And I want people making noise. I want sports betting on every hole with algorithms spinning on every shot, keep people engaged. You tell me, what would it look like if you were presenting a golf in a way that would lure those people?
An open connected platform that covers all of what you said, but a lot more. You got to engage with the fans. You got to entertain the fans. The fans feel like they got to have ownership in what they're doing and what they're watching. If I'm on the 15th hole and I am watching John Smith, and then there's Brian Smith on the let's say the fourth hole, I want to be able to say, okay, I'm watching my guy, but what is this other guy doing? I want to be able to look at my phone, check it, see you can do multiple screens and all that stuff. So all of a sudden, a fan is not following one person. They're following everybody on the golf course of their choice. Connect them to that. Give them that ability to do that. Right. So that's just a litany. I'm not going to go into a lot more because there's things I'm working on now that I'm going to introduce to the golfer fans of the world, something new, a new platform that I see just going to be a game changer in the industry going into 2022.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. I got to tell you, my vision for a new platform would include live sports, sports betting, and e-commerce. Do you have any other kind of stilts to that stool that you would put in there?
Yeah, I have a lot of other legs to that stool, but we won't go into it here.
Oh, come on. I'm just not. Here, I'm going to reach over here because I want to say your brand is well positioned in my house. 1 minute. Hey, I'll actually move the camera. I don't often do this. Hold on. I got to reach. Look, it's the Greg Norman collection. Wrong way.
Nice. Very good. Yeah.
This is the Cabernet Sauvignon. Is that a good one? Probably not your favorite, but a good one?
No, my Pinot is my favorite, and the Shiraz Reserve is the best.
All right. Well, I'll tell my wife. I have to yell at her. She got the wrong stuff. But, you've got the wine, the course design, the apparel. You just hinted at it. Please, I like to look forward. What's on the horizon? As specific as you can be, what's on the horizon for Greg Norman, the brand, the businessman?
Look, I just tell you from my company's perspective, I think we've positioned ourselves extremely well coming out of COVID. Like I said, there's an investment platform, my family office, we do. From a comms standpoint, from a PR comms, we call it ProCom. I think from that standpoint, there's a tremendous amount of opportunities that we see on a global front. Golf diplomacy has always been in the forefront of my mind, where I'm just absolutely, I've been that way since I first went to mainland China to do the first exhibition match on mainland China back, I think, in '93, something like that.
The next Henry Kissinger.
So golf diplomacy, yeah, exactly. I mean, golf diplomacy to me is one of the things that I'm the most proud of, because I've been doing it for 40 plus years, right? I've traveled the world. I've met leaders of the world. Even today, through one of my businesses, golf course design business, we work with the Vietnamese government. We work with the Mexican government. We work with the Australian governments. We work with state and local governments all the time. So you have this connection level, because we identify the ability, if somebody wants to go and invest in building a golf course community or a resort development or just pure golf, that's an investment into that community. So we actually have the ability to look into there, making a statement into that community, looking at employment issues, looking at environmental issues, looking at exposure, for example, for the region you want from a hospitality standpoint. It's just a plethora of stuff that comes out of it. So I'm proud of that, and I continue to do that on a 15, 16 projects a year we are actually building at the moment. And we've built and opened 110 golf courses around the world. So, those opportunities have always been there for me, but I've enjoyed understanding the backbone of it all and understanding all the ribs that come off that backbone that supports everybody. And, whether it's FDI, foreign direct investment, or whether it's infrastructure investment, or where you're going, what are your long-term visions? Is it 25 years down the line? What's your build-out timeline? Is it 7? Is it 15? Is it 20? So, look, these are all the things that I consider on every single project that we do.
What is your management style overseeing that kind of an organization? I worked so many years with David Stern, and as you know, two of his founding principles of management were micromanagement is underrated and fear. he liked to motivate by fear. You're the top guy in the organization. What's your management style?
I don't believe in managing by fear. I mean, I believe by managing, leading by example, right? And you've got to be able to have your staff, your middle management, the people who support you every hour of the day. You know, I can pick up my phone at 2 o'clock in the morning and have a question to somebody and they'll answer the question, right? I don't do that, but you know, that's the loyalty. So I lead by example, and I always make sure that my team has the ability to say what they want to say. And I'm not the one saying, oh, I don't take offense if somebody says, Greg, that's not a great idea. We should be doing it this way. I go, okay, tell me why we should be doing it this way. You know, whether it's in the pro-com world or whether it's in the financial officers world from an investment standpoint, I need to know the pros and the cons of everything so I can make the right decisions. So quite honestly, leadership, you lead by example, by spending the time you need to spend, getting there at the same time as everybody else, working on the weekends, you know, like I do every weekend. I don't have a weekend off unless I just disappear somewhere. So I'm working all the weekend getting ready for the next week, right? So, you know, and then you're giving your management and your executives the ability to run with their decisions, to run it down to the ground, to bring it to you for you to finally check off on it. And that empowers them with a sense of security that they, you know, I trust them with their decisions. And look, quite honestly, I've had staff that haven't done that, and that's why the staff are not there any longer, because you cannot have an individual that runs off in their own decision. I'll give you one example, a prime example, because I don't want to mention names or divisions or anything like that. Golf course design. I'm building this golf course and I'm going out for a site visit and we're just doing all the green shaping and everything like that, which is the final shaping before you start finishing off the golf course. And I get to this one hole and I look at the hole and it's just absolutely horrible, the green setup, the green complex. And I looked to my two guys and I said, this is not what I want that we last talked about here. And the guy said, well, this is what I think should be down there. I said, is your name on this golf course design company? He said, no. I said, so why would you do this? This is totally different than all the other 17 greens. He said, well, I just thought it looked good. I said, it doesn't work. Done. He was gone, right?
That was my question. Was he an ex-Greg Norman employee?
Yeah, not immediately, but in a very short time after that, after I spoke to, excuse me, our vice presidents of that division, I explained to him, hey, you know, we got to have a tight ship here. Great, somebody has a different vision. If he talked to me about it before pushing dirt and spending other people's money to build that site, you know, different story. I might have said, okay, you know, maybe if we make a little adjustment here, I like your line of thinking. Okay, now let's just go take a look at it, see if it fits in the field before you go spending people's money, like I said, to build something that is completely out of character for the rest of the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, I could go forever, Greg. I love this type of conversation, but I'll let you out on this. I'm curious if you're salivating. You mentioned sort of the family office. Do you salivate as an investor these days? And that I think so much opportunity is smack dab in your wheelhouse in sport, health and wellness, technology. So much is being utilized in sport that can then scale way beyond sport. There's so much opportunity in health and wellness, in technology that can anchor in sports and then scale. If I just get the feeling like you should be salivating as an investor.
Well, I wouldn't say salivating. I just like what I see with my partners. My partners, you know, who I've been involved with a long period of time, allow me to see things that aren't yet to market. And I just in the last 2 days, I saw stuff about production. I saw stuff about IoT. I saw stuff about smart cities, smart golf courses, smart this, smart that. All this stuff it's there, right? It's there that will be implemented somewhere down the line. And, you know, just from a production standpoint of sporting events, it's just incredible the stuff that's ready to come to the world, and the benefactors are going to be the consumers who love sport and love that technology side of things that makes their world and their life a lot easier to do.
Well, Greg, our little franchise here that we're starting is called Business Beyond the Game. I think it's pretty clear that you have set a template for business beyond the game while still anchored in sport, something I think athletes will follow in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Greg.